Back to the old, hello to the new. You in the know with BKO. Let's go. Hey, today Birmingham, we're coming at you from the V Lounge. The V Lounge representing and supporting us in our mission to bring you everyday knowledge and equipment and resources and whatever you need to know for you to be able to go and grow.
Yep.
All right, so today, what we got on the docket today is I've been seeing a lot of conversations on Facebook surrounding culture, what they call toxic culture, black culture, whatever else.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I need to know. We need to establish what is culture. Like, what is black culture? What's acceptable black culture? Because right now I feel like we just kind of grasping at straws. Anything that we see that's cool or that we can relate to, and it's kind of turned into this thing, in my opinion, to where we're grabbing all of the negative aspects of society, urban life, inner city life, and claiming it as culture, as in something to be proud of, as in if we see other people living that lifestyle or mimicking or whatever else, it's like a badge of honor for us. But as we see around the city and even around the nation, that mentality has been non-productive for us. It's been degenerative for us. It has us working backwards. It feels like everything that our ancestors worked to instill in us, whether it's a sense of family, community, whatever, we're kind of going against the grain now. So I guess you can open up and tell me, what are your thoughts as far as culture goes?
Well, when it comes to my thought as far as culture, I feel like with as far as our community, because we don't have a true identity, and because that our original culture had been stripped from us, I feel like for the longest we've been grasping at we've been grasping at what we witness, what we see, what's available to us, and I feel like we just kind of amplify it. And I feel like what we've been doing is, for the longest, has been just taking bits and pieces of what we like from white culture, taking it and just stretching it to the max and putting our own little twist to it. And the I guess the exclamation points or whatever, or the exaggerations that we see from white culture, that automatically become our culture, or should I say the swag or our style, the way we do it. Then we try to say that's black culture, but honestly I feel like most of the stuff that we do is really just an exaggeration from American culture, if that makes sense. So it's just,
Okay, so we can, before we can say what culture is,
okay.
we have to actually define culture.
Okay.
So I had to bring up my notes. I got a couple of definitions right here.
Google is your notes.
No, everything. Everything. I got dictionaries, I got Google, I got everything.
Okay.
It says culture is an umbrella term which encompasses the social behavior, institutions, and norms found in human societies, as well as the knowledge, beliefs, arts, laws, customs, capabilities, and habits of the individuals in these groups.
Right.
Now, that's what they say.
Uh-huh.
Okay. There are two different kinds of culture in our society. You have good culture and bad culture. So a social norm is a social norm, but there are good social norms and there are bad social norms.
Right.
If I go to an area where cannibalism is a thing and everybody accepts it, then that is part of their culture. But if you take them and put them into another society or another culture, it's like, that's taboo.
Of course.
That's wrong. But if you only got small people within that group that practice that, within that, it's like a small, I'm not even gonna call it a subculture, but if you got 1,000 people and you only have 100 people that practice this, would you really want for the 100 to represent the 1,000 to the world? When people come see you, would you want for that to be what you call our culture, the 100 that's cannibals, whatever else? So what's going on in the black community right now, I feel, is that we have started to encompass a lot of elements of what I call street life.
Okay.
That is relative to living on the streets more so than being a black experience. You know, Hispanics, you have streets everywhere. Hispanics, white people, you name it. Even some Asians. In Asia, they got a street culture.
Yeah.
If you combine all the street cultures together, there are a lot of things that you'll find that they have in common. Whether it's the love of urban attire, loose fitting clothing, sagging, gangs, hand signs, dealing in drugs, just the street mentality. They might not listen to the rap that we listen to, but they have their own versions of either rap or what they call street music. So why is it that I feel like we're the only ones that seem proud? You don't really hear, if you watch television, you won't really see a white television show about the white hood, white drug dealers. If anything, they're gonna do something with the mafia or the biker people, because that's looked at as cool within their culture. But just regular street life, like poverty, they don't.
Well, no, I mean, I get that. That of course they wouldn't want to associate street life, because street life probably identifies too closely to black street life, and,
Right.
I don't think they, because of that negative stigma. But when you was talking about as far as gangs and illegitimate, trust me, the mafia is respected in the Italian community.
Yeah.
The cartel is respected in the Mexican community. I mean, they looked at it like they're feared and revered. Now, they might not say, oh, this is all Mexico, or this is all Italy, or this is, or what does the Asians have, the Yakuza or whatever, something like that. I think that's right. Forgive me. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
The Japanese got samurais.
Yeah.
But the thing is to some degree, there's a level of respect when it comes to, I guess, their gangsters for them, because that's you even hear sometimes. You ever talk to sometimes when you speak to like some certain Europeans, they'll talk about their history because their culture's been passed down. You'll talk to a guy, he could be Irish or something like that, or he could be, an Italian guy. He was like, my great grandfather, he was actually he was actually a part of the mafia. They were bootlegging, and they'll say it with pride. Hey, this is what my grandfather did. Like, as far as organized crime, and I'm not saying that it should be a good thing. It's just that they don't place stigmas on a lot of their on as far as they don't place stigmas on things that's looked at as powerful, so to speak, if it has some form of authority. I mean, in my opinion. But when it comes to us, you're right. I guess with our culture of street crime, there's no. I mean, it's not really respected throughout the community. It's just you like that small portion that may respect, D-boys or whatever, or the top gang bosses or something like that.
So our street life is, for the most part, the difference between the mafia is that the mafia they had laws, they had bylaws,
They codes.
They had codes, right?
Yeah.
They had like even the cartel, they have codes like, hey, we're not gonna kill innocent people. We're
Right.
not gonna do this. If you gotta kill somebody, you wait for them to get here. You don't do it in front of the kids, or you don't randomly shoot in a place with kids. They have respect, if such as you want to call it, amongst one another. Out here, it's not even a unified effort. Not even saying that it should be, but it's kind of like every nigga for his own. So everybody's just kind of running off their own principle. If I'm mad at you and you sitting at McDonald's, I'm not gonna wait for you to get around the corner. I'm just gonna spray the whole lot and hope that I hit you. And then look at the end results. With us, there's been a negative impact, because if you notice it, okay, nobody else really promotes it like we do. Like white America, they are aware of certain cultures within their society, but on the average, when you look on TV, they might promote it in a small sector, but they don't promote it abroad.
Right.
If you look at black people, black television, black music, whether it's hip hop, R&B, or television, TV shows, or movies, it's kind of like we've become pigeonholed into this one existence, to where everything has to be about the hood, the struggle, getting the drugs, the getting out mentality. And there is no, when we was growing up, not to make it sound better, but when we had movies like that, there was a principle behind the movie. There was a point.
Right.
There was a reason why you watch this ghetto movie and watch them sell drugs. Because when you get to the end, it's like, hey, don't be like me. Hey, don't do this. Hey, I messed myself up. I could have been better. Now is you don't get that. The bad guys win now.
I mean, I think that's what the movie Superfly.
Right.
You remember he was like that. He was he was a pimp. He was also a drug dealer, but he had a goal. He was like, hey, I'm trying to get out of this game, and he was trying to tell us. The movie told a story, so to speak. And it's funny when you was just talking about that, going back to the code as far as the other communities. Yeah, they had I guess they didn't mess with the who was always protected was the elderly and the children, stuff like that, and they don't sell at schools and things like that. Now, again, I think you're right. I think that they had that level of respect because organized crime and it was organized for one, and they separated it from the rest of the community, and even historically speaking, you can look at some of the old mob bosses. They used to give back to the community to get the community on their side. That's what Al Capone did. A lot of people don't know. He used to give, he used to feed the community and stuff like that to get them on their side. You'll get and people would say, hey, he's not a bad guy. And most, crime, they don't feel like they're bad. But the funny thing about the organized crime, I feel like in the early stages, like especially like in the 90s and stuff, when gangs started growing within the black community, we were still imitating their code. We didn't have our own culture. I mean, even early back in the day, early black mob bosses or whatever, they didn't mess with the elderly and children. They knew that wasn't the case. They didn't sell to school, but at some point the morals and principles went out the door. And I think it happened with some of the rappers. By the rappers trying to replicate and adapt the crime life, and them not having any principles, they're just spewing out whatever. I mean, go back to my favorite rapper, Lil Wayne, saying, hey, look, to the kids drugs kill, I'm acknowledging that, but when I'm on a drop, I ain't got a problem with that. Like, they don't care. They'll sell the kids. They'll sell whatever. And I really think in our culture, the rap music not really resignating the codes, except for not snitching.
Right.
That's the only code that they really stick to is not snitching, which really backfires in the community because some of them niggas need to be snitched on.
Yeah, we have a culture that, in my opinion, a culture that works against us. The thing is, just when you're looking across the board, everything that we say represents us is proud. And as I mentioned before, we have a need to make it out of certain places and then turn around and say, yeah, I'm still that nigga. I still do this. I'm still, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. I can still play. Why do you want so bad to prove to people, or for people to know, hey, I'm still about this life. I'm still about that life. Why do we hold arms up in celebration over certain things that we see on TV? Like, yeah, that's us. That's us. When I look around the room, when I think of culture, I think of, you look around the world, you see the Samoan heritage. They have their festivals. Everybody's out there dancing, doing whatever. They have a uniform idea overall of what their culture is. You look at overseas, Middle Eastern people, same thing. You look at Indian people from India, not Native Americans, and you look at Asians when they have their festivals and they outside and they all dressed in a certain way, in the Caribbeans and even in Africa. You can tell the culture when you see it because there's a uniform effort. They have uniform festivities. They have a uniform, not saying that everybody aligns with everything, but overall, they are represented by a certain look, by a certain action, by a certain dress code. Even if individually they differ sometimes, overall is us. If we were to step outside, if you fill a stadium full of black people, or we was to have a concert or whatever, we're gonna look from all over the place. We don't have customs where we have festivals and not the festivals we had. It was Freaknik, stuff like that. We had simple city stages and stuff, but that's not even really a festival. That's kind of not like a black culture celebration festival. That's just a festival music. Let's go get drinking and stuff like that. Don't let the fly kill you.
Goddamn fly.
Don't let the fly-
Everyone,
no,
man, this fly is undefeated right now, man. But go ahead, man.
That's all the vegetables you eat, man. I told you,
You know,
vegans. Yeah. You smell like broccoli right now.
Broccoli,
Hey, come get you some vegetables. That's right.
Damn, fly.
And he's not over here. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
Yeah, I'm
no.
a carnivore. He's not over here.
But I'm sorry, but finish what you were saying.
Lay off the asparagus. No. That when you look at them, you can tell when they outside. Just like when we saw those people from the Middle East, I think it was last week. I think they were all Indian.
Yeah.
Right. They were dressed a certain way. They were all different people. They weren't one big family, but when they walked by, we knew where they were going and who they were with because they all had similar dress attire. They looked a certain way, even the women. Right now, we're afraid to have standards because we consider standards to be judgmental, and it's not judgmental. It's not judgmental to say that, hey, our young women shouldn't dress like this. Look at what's being pushed on them. That we really think that twerking is black culture. Like that, we really think that if we see a white girl or Asian girl or somebody, embarrassing themselves, disrespecting themselves a certain way, we're like, no, y'all don't have a right to dance disrespectfully like that. You don't have a right to portray yourself like that. That belongs to us. That belongs to our women. They should be out there with the booty cheeks out, bent over, dancing and doing splits to the point where you got girls twerking at graduations. You got women twerking at church. You got church people twerking.
Which church?
Huh?
Which church? Go ahead.
No.
I'm sorry. My bad, y'all. My bad. Go ahead, man.
Which like I would tell you which church they are twerking.
Which church they twerking? I want to see that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I want to see.
They out there praise clapping.
If you praise clapping, if you're twerking in church, please email us. I want to see that. Continue.
Yeah, they twerking in the church, man. You got people filming their kids dancing a certain way, and
They got praise twerkers, dog. This is funny. I'm sorry, dog.
they out there miming and twerking. It's ridiculous, but that's what they think because look at how our women are represented. It's like I said before, when we was growing up, yes, we had Salt-N-Pepa. Yes, we had Lil' Kim. Yes, we had Foxy Brown, but we also had MC Lyte. We also had Queen Latifah. Right. We also had Roxanne. We also had women that exemplified the other side. So they say, hey, you don't have to be like this. You can be like this. But everything about every woman now, not every woman, excuse me, I don't want to get in trouble. Not every woman. It's becoming more and more popular, I see, with women from the eyelashes to the big hair to the fake baby hair to the point to where I see people posting pictures of their daughters, for prom and even middle school, and they got wigs on. And they got weave on. And I'm not, when I was growing up, girls wore weave, but they kind of matched it to their texture. You really couldn't tell. Like, you legit had to ask if you were that bold. Hey, is that your hair? But now they go out there, they getting 30 inches on the back of the heels. It's super wavy. It's this, it's that. And it's trickling, the mindset is trickling down to the point to where these girls are going to grow up with no sense of identity and no pride in who they are and how they look because they're being trained from a young age that how they look is not good enough. And it's not a protective hairstyle. Don't give me that bull. You lazy and you think it look good on that little girl. I'm going to say that again. You lazy. If you can wake up on a weekend and boil some hair and sit in the dryer and comb it, and I know girls that they'll pay $500 for a wig, X amount of $100 for, to get it installed. And you got to take care of it. They'll comb it, spray it. If you're going to do all that to some fake hair, you might well do it to your own. Every hairstyle is not for everybody, but I don't think that should be a part of our culture, even for these young girls to say, hey, as a black woman, this is who we are. We had to anti that back in the day when they used to be saying, you probably heard of the older people, fried, dyed, laid to the side. The men was dyeing their hair or frying it, relaxing. The women was doing it. What happened? They hit a wave at the end of the 60s going to the 70s. They said, I'm black and I'm proud. Forget that relaxing. Forget the relaxing. James Brown went natural. He went back. He went back to the press. But it was a natural press.
Yeah.
You had afros everywhere. Women was looking beautiful. They was looking beautiful. But you look at these little girls, you look at little boys, I see them this big. Earrings, sagging, fake gold, or they got little silver teeth because they teeth rotten. But to them, they got a grill, so they proud of it. Look at how we instilling our kids, and they going to grow up into this culture that we claim we have. And I'm trying to figure out how we can get around it. Like how can we come together as a people and establish a uniform code of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, define ourselves by who we want to be rather than what we see on TV and what we told we should be.
It's my turn, right? Well, it's a few key things that you said that really stuck out to me. One thing you said was what we do in our culture. I'm gonna do when I say our culture. Well, first of all, I'm gonna say this. I feel like most of our culture ain't really culture. It's really just trends. It's almost like we just have deep-rooted trends because it's always changing.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I thought you said trends. I was about to say he kind of lost.
Not
me.
trends. I said trends.
Trends. Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
we got trends now.
I mean,
but
that's
trends.
cool. Yeah, that's
Trend.
Hey, each his own.
Yeah.
But it threw me off because when you was talking, my thought process.
Trend.
Where's he
Trends.
going? Okay, all right.
Fads. Trends. Yeah.
Be careful. Be careful.
Fads.
Okay. All right.
Fad. D is in Delta. But one of the things you said is that they start them off at a young age with our culture or trends, and because you said something about weave, you're right.
Right.
Weave is one of the things that really is that it. Now I will say that is cultural in black because we've damaged our hair so much, we had to buy fake hair, and now we get creative with it. We put our artistic talents into our culture, and that's what we do. We're artists. That's where we are. We are a nation of artists when you talk about Black Americans. But here's the thing I was going to say compared, but the key thing what you said about in our cultures, they start them off as a young age. Now, you go to other nations and you look at their culture, they teach them at young ages, and they teach them from generation to generation to generation, and that is the reason why they're able to take their culture, like what we saw last week. You have the Indian people. They had their wedding. I'm pretty sure they take those same practices that they learned at a young age from there, and then they can come here and do those same practices no problem, because that's their culture. And one thing I've observed about culture is this: culture is something that is embedded into a nation because it's for survival reasons, and it's for survival, it's for principles, it's for values. There's a reason behind that. I mean, because back when I was really studying the Bible, that was Jewish culture and customs, and they're like everything is listed. This is why you do this. This is why you do that, and that's a law. That's their law, and that's something that they teach from nation to generation to generation. And the thing is this: nations establish once you become a nation. Once you become a nation, you have to put in your customs, which becomes your culture, and that's something that your nation sticks with, and that becomes your culture. So what happens is, if a group of your nation is able to go to another area, you're still able to keep your culture and to be able to survive as a people. I mean, that's what the Italians do. That's what the Asians do. Why do you think they have a Chinatown? You know what I mean? They really took their culture from China, dropped it in the middle of New York, and they're able to live as if they're still in China. The same thing if it was Italy. They have their own cultures within America. Hell, I don't know if they have an Africa town, but some places they probably could do that, Nigeria town or whatever. And the thing is this: the reason they're able to do that is because these other groups are nations. Black Americans, we are not an official nation. Now, if we were able to nationalize ourselves, we'd be able to create a culture that we can carry on, you know, and do whatever we want to. Well, like you said, you had me thinking. It's funny you was on the road, but when you were talking about the Coliseum, if we had a Coliseum of, you know, of black people, we'd be all doing things. It's funny. If you had a Coliseum of black people, you do realize the only thing we're gonna probably all do at the same time is listen to Frankie Beverly and Mace. Or,
And as soon as that fight is over,
yeah. We gonna all do the electric slide
Yep.
and fried chicken. But again, going back to it, when you are an established nation, you're able to develop a culture and able to pretty much transfer it to wherever your group of people go and actually live.
right?
You know, with your culture, so that way you always remember your heritage. And the thing is about Black Americans, because we're the largest group that's the largest group existing now that's been, I think the proper word would be diasporate. like we've been basically extracted from, you know, and
Displaced.
displaced. Okay, that's the best word. We've been displaced and just put into America, and whatever our cultures were has been stripped and beaten out of us. And all we could do is adapt new things that we've witnessed and observed and make that a part of our culture. I mean, which is why, I hate to say this, in the South, eating chitlins is part of our culture.
I rebuke that.
I know you rebuke that. That is something, but why? Because once upon a time, that was a survival method. Now, trust me, I don't eat chitlins. Now I don't eat any meat. I rebuke it too. But it goes back to what you said. Some of the most negative things that we've adopted from our American experience has become our culture, and that's why. You see what I'm saying? The worst parts of our American experience has become a part of our culture, and because Black Americans, we are not a nation. What we are an unofficial nation inside of a nation that does not have a culture, and that shit is by design, so they can keep benefiting off of our backs and our labor and our ability to spend money.
That's because we don't really have. We have a culture.
Okay.
It's not what originated in Africa. We
Wait a minute,
assimilated-
time out. The flies attacking him now. The flies on your hat.
We chilling over here.
Y'all
We
chilling. Okay.
All right, we are one. I'm not
We-
fighting. I'm not fighting. You know what I'm saying? I have accepted my place in the world.
But finish what
But-
you're saying.
It's not the culture that we have from Africa. Yes, they did inherit it from over here, but we inherited the best parts of the culture that we saw.
Oh,
When these, Hoteps and all these other people start talking about they beat Christianity in us, that's a white man religion. No, Christianity was in Africa some 1,100 years before slaves ever come over here. It was already in Africa. It was already spreading through Africa. As a matter of fact, Ethiopia was the first country in Africa recognized as a Christian state, and that was at least 1,000 years before slavery. Christianity was already spreading through West Africa and East Africa. So when they come over here, they just learned something that was already exposed to Africa in another place. Because guess what? As old as Africa is, and as much African as Africa is, the prime two religions in Africa today are Christianity and Islam, which they differ on the subject of Jesus, but both of them are rooted in the same Old Testament Bible, especially the first 5 books, what they call the Torah. So whether you Christian or Muslim, you still believe in the same God. And that's where Africa is today. Africa universally believes in the same God, split between 2 different major religions. And they were never enslaved in America. So you cannot blame the fact that we are Christians or believe in God as a white man religion when our counterparts are doing the same thing and they were never beat. They were never exposed what we were exposed of. In my opinion, God just found another way to cross that water and get in their ears because they took them from an area where they were going to be exposed to it and put them over here. So we took that and we became a religious people, and we had pride and we had principles. That's why after 1865, after slavery, we were able to build, despite Jim Crow, despite everything that happened after slavery, despite the civil rights movement. We were able to build over 120 HBCUs. We were able to have our own cities. We were able to have our own doctors and lawyers and our own entertainment districts and the Harlem Renaissance. We did all that in spite of the worst times of our life, right? Because we had a uniform idea. We had a uniform belief. We had a uniform system that was rooted in us. And then once we got our civil rights, everything that we did to get us to where we were, we started turning our backs on it. That's what we did. We started turning our backs on God. We started turning our backs on Jesus. We started turning our backs on the principles that our ancestors and grandparents and even our parents gave us. That was the key to success. We did have, back then, everybody was going to church just about. Even when me and you grew up. It was not uncommon to go to school and see somebody that you also played football with and also went to church with. And y'all were in the children's choir. And we were going to each other's churches for vacation, Bible school, and everything. It was not uncommon. And in that, we were taught a sense of brotherhood that we got at church that we weren't getting at school. Because at church, they taught us we're all God's children. We should love each other. There's the principles. And no matter what religion you believe in, there are certain principles that are rooted universally. And it goes down to the main truth that's in the Bible. You know, one of them was love God, which whatever religion you are, you're going to love that God. But the second one, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We grew up believing it. We grew up, even though we had our fights, even though there's always been violence in Black America, there's always been violence in the world, but not at the heights that it is now, because universally, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s, we all had a core set of values and beliefs. But over time, since the civil rights, we have not had a universal religious or even political leader. We have not had that since the 60s when X died, King died, and, you know, no disrespect to Farrakhan and whatnot, he do his thing, but he's the leader of the Nation of Islam, but we have not had a national. Now, I don't care about Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, and, you know, I don't even get into that. Since the 60s, what person have we had that actually stood up in front of the nation and put them on their back and said, this is who we are, this is what we believe, this is where we're going. We're going that way. We're going that way. We don't do that. That's not a part of who we are. They used to shame a lot of the stuff that we did back in the day. Our parents and grandparents, no, we don't do that. No, you don't talk like that. Now, if somebody's shaming, you get shamed. People talking back to you. Because we have accepted this deteriorated mindset that we have entered over the decades because of the fact that we have moved ourselves away from the core values that we were taught. I don't care how we attained the knowledge about religion, Bible, prayer, whatever. One thing you cannot argue with is the results. And that junk worked. You cannot argue with the results. People can sit up there and say, I'm not my ancestors, all I want. It worked. It worked. It brought them together, unified them for a cause. They accomplished their mission, and they built cities and environments and neighborhoods, and they got, you know, land. And yeah, they had to fight. Their fight was a lot tougher than us, but they did all of that because of their core values. We don't have that now. And then they wonder why we so lost. We lost, bro.
Yeah, man, that's a lot to unpack. Well, I do want to say this. Something you said, ever since the 60s, we haven't had a leader like X or Martin, so to speak.
Right.
Well, the thing is this, history shows that a leader is born through an era of tribulation and trials.
Right.
And the thing is well, number one, once the civil rights movement happened, that gave off the implication that we're progressing as a people. Mm-hmm. And once now, it also put out the stigma that, oh, y'all are equal. This is what y'all want. Y'all are included in America. Right. You don't have to fight no more. So I think that a lot of the progressive blacks, now that they can go shop with the white folks, or they can go, they can vote now. They can do, they can go to their malls, they can go to their churches and all of those things. Well, nah, we ain't gotta fight. We ain't gotta fight them no more. We're included. We can go to their schools and go to their universities. The thing is we needed a leader back in the 60s because we were surviving. We were fighting. Like, the leaders were needed. And then the other thing is, shit, all our leaders got killed. like so my thing is I don't know if anyone's I mean, and that I think that's a two-sided story, because the thing is this, in the times of trouble, a leader will emerge. So number one, if the leader's getting killed, you're probably apprehensive because you ain't trying to get assassinated. But number two, the other thing is those are assassinations. And the thing is, sometimes the leaders may be getting kicked off before they can even become leaders. Well, I mean, this may be a bit conspiracy talking right now, because something you said when you was like, since the 60s we haven't had a leader like X or Martin.
Yeah, all of them were killed.
Yeah, but in the 70s we had the Black Panthers. We had a whole bunch, and my thing is, but
Fred Hampton got killed.
Fred Hampton got killed, exactly.
Huey Newton got shot, and then he got arrested.
But see, here's the thing, though. I mean, this stuff they probably ain't gonna talk about a lot, but don't you know that the FBI have a program out called COINTELPRO, where they are, there's a program where where they're designed to kill off what's called the Black Messiah. So anytime you have a leader that's probably emerging, So what? So the thing is this, though, man. All
right, let me ask you a question.
All right.
You the hottest D-boy in the neighborhood, right? Everybody knows Zayon. He got the connect. He got the drugs. If a nigga drop you right now, ain't nobody gonna be afraid to step in your spot because you got dropped. Somebody's gonna pick up a ton and say, "I got the juice now." So why is it that we had that mentality in the street and we willing to be assassinated for nothing, but we won't be assassinated for a purpose? And if somebody that leads us get assassinated, for somebody else to pick up and say, "Hey, okay, now you got to kill me."
I will say this: when integration happened and we started going to their schools, as kids, we stopped being educated on Black history, true Black history. We started getting the education that they wanted us to know, history. So my thing is this: I didn't learn about Fred Hampton, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X until I got to college. You know what I'm saying? My thing is, what they teaching us? They teaching us the Martin Luther King, "I Have a Dream." Y'all used to be slaves. Now y'all can be this. And they also taught Harriet Tubman. That's it. They're not teaching us. We're not being educated on that history. So now, I mean, as a child, I have no need to be that leader because I've arrived to the goal that my leaders was aiming for.
That's not their problem. They're providing a civil duty. If you are passing out food to the homeless, right, because you feel like they're hungry, they need to eat, so you pass out a bag. Man, open the bag. He got a turkey sandwich, bag of plain chips, and a cookie. And he say, "Man, nigga, I don't want this. I want steak and fries." I'm like, "Yeah, you might want steak and fries, but what you finna get is this sandwich and these chips and this drink. If you want steak and fries, you need to do whatever you need to do to get that on your own time. Find your job, work, save money. You can have all the steak and fries you want." So when we put our kids in the public education system, we have to take the education that they give us, but that does not mean that we cannot be educated. We just have to take it upon ourselves to educate ourselves and educate our kids. You cannot go to a free institution and then complain about what you're given. It's free. They're going to give you what the hell they want to give you.
No, I'm not saying that the free is the issue. I'm not saying that I'm complaining about not having steak and fries. What I'm saying is because I'm getting sandwich and chips, and I'm taught that, sandwich and chips is better than getting nothing. I'm content with sandwich and chips. I'm not even aware of steak and fries because I've never learned that. I have no motive to get better because what I've been given is good enough, is what I'm saying. Not realizing that, no, I'm being shortchanged. That's what I'm saying.
As a kid, right.
As a kid.
Right. But see, as a parent, it's our job because kids are happy with, you can put some mud in between 2 pieces of bread and put chocolate on top, you give it to a kid, they might take a bite out of it. But you as a parent, you understand, hey, you don't really know what you're eating or what you're getting. You don't know that it's not healthy or it's not going to work. So once again, as a kid going through the system, it's okay to be failed by the system because you don't know better. As an adult who's old enough to know better, it is your fault if you allow your child to be failed by the system because you do know better. You do know better. So me, if I'm smart enough to know that there are steak and fries out there and you selling for your sandwich, it's my responsibility to tell you, hey, there's better. Keep eating what you're eating for right now because at the end of the day, you need to eat. You'll never get to the steak and fries if you're dead. So you need to eat this until you can afford to do this. If you drop out of school, you're going to be dumb. Then you have nothing. But you have to learn the foundation of education that they do give you in school in order to be able to go out on your own and build on that knowledge that they give you. They're not going to give you everything because you're not in class long enough to learn everything about everywhere. They're going to give you condensed versions of everything. Hell, even in a math book, bro. They give you a math book this thick. By the end of the year, you ain't made it but halfway through that mug. You make it halfway through an Algebra 1 book, correct? Yeah. And the next year, they put you in Algebra 2. And you ain't even made it all the way through Algebra 1. But you learned just enough of Algebra 1 to be able to go to Algebra 2, and they add some more stuff on it. And then it's like, okay, you got halfway through this book. Now you're ready for Algebra 3. But you don't have a complete, the only way you get a complete understanding of Algebra 1 is to take the foundation of it, go to Algebra 2, struggle, and then once you get good at that, you're able to apply it backwards to what you learned in Algebra 1. So when we go to the educational system, we got to take what they give us, learn how to build on it, and then once we build on it, we can apply that backwards and fill the gaps. But we don't do that. Parents don't do that. We just sit around and complain about how the educational failed me. Well, listen, if the educational system failed your grandma, and it failed your mama, and it failed you, and you let it fail your kids, that's your fault. That's your fault if you know that it's been failing since before you was even alive, and you sit there and let your kids fail in it, that's your fault. That ain't nobody's problem but your problem. And that's what we got to stop doing. We got to stop expecting the education system to compensate for, look, get out from in front of your Nintendo, get out the club, get off them sports, get off all your vacations, staycation, whatever kind of cation you got. Get in there with your kids and say, hey, this is our history. This is what we learned. This is what they're not teaching you in school. Right. Find YouTube videos. It's all over the place. Find some stuff that you can, if you can't teach it, there are places where you can find it, where somebody can break it down to where you can't. Say, hey, I want you to learn this. Hey, this is important. Because at the end of the day, it's your kid. That's a child that you decided to put here. So it's your responsibility. Nobody else's. School don't owe you nothing. School don't owe you nothing but to give you just enough to get your little piece of paper with your name on it and go on. That's it. That's all they're responsible for. But we as a people, we have to make education foundational in our culture, from learning about the past and then bridging the gap between the past, the present, and the future. But like I said, it's all built on the past, our ancestors. When you said that about the guys and assassinations, I know that dudes is out there dying for nothing.
It's true.
Dudes is out there dying for nothing. I remember when I joined the military, somebody asked me, they said, you ain't gonna do nothing but go over there and get killed. I said, at least if I do, I'll be somebody doing something that's worth something. I'd rather get killed overseas and die as a soldier than to be killed in these streets and die as another nigga. That was my mentality. That's why I went.
I respect that.
If I'm gonna take a bullet, I'm gonna take a bullet that means something. I'm gonna take a bullet that has a purpose, because somebody was so fearful of who I am and what I was doing for my people that they wanted to take me out, but they can't stop my voice. We still talking about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King 50 years later. So are they really dead? Or are they just physically no longer with us? Exactly. I know a lot of dudes that been killed in the streets that don't even get talked about no more. I can't even remember what they told you last time they smiled or none that they thought, because when they died, we cried, went on about our business. Like, hey man, we had some good memories, but they don't even talk about it for real. But we still talking about these guys and people like that. The leaders that we had, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, we still talking about these people 50, 60, 100 years later, man. That gotta mean something.
Oh, it means a lot. It means a lot.
So what you thinking? How do we find it?
How do we find what?
I don't know what they call the Black Messiah, whatever else. It's time for us to stop making excuses and go back to the culture that got us where we are.
Well, honestly, well, for one, I think those Black Messiahs, again, they emerged because that was an era where not only was oppression was prevalent, but oppression was pretty obvious. Like that's where racism was like, no, we hate you. Like we're the enemy. But see, the problem is after integration happened, I think our enemy became invisible. They started this whole colorblind and shit. And the thing is you're gonna have a hard. Let's just say this. Back then, they all knew what the issue. Like, look, man, I might not agree with you. You might be Republican. I might be Democrat. Whatever. I might do this. You might be Christian. I might be Muslim. But we do know this: white boys hate both of us. They could say that, but now, that was something they could say then. But now it's, oh no, we're all brothers in God. We're all I'm not your enemy now. We're brothers now. We both bleed red.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is we don't have a common enemy anymore, or at least not a visible common enemy. So it's gonna be really challenging to get all of us on the same page as and having that same goal to grow as a community. And the other thing is this: our community is too fucking pacified. They're okay. They're okay with the minimal, or they're okay with where they are. Because the thing is this: even though, I'm gonna put it to you like this, even though in our community we got poverty, we got some of the brokest. Some of our ghettos, hoods, are some of the brokest in the country, in the world. But guess what? They still got PlayStation 5s. They still got cell phones. They still got material bullshit, man. So it's like, if they're still, even though our communities are impoverished, they still are getting the fruits of capitalism. So you're still able to get J's with that tax money. You know what I'm saying? You're able to get J's and PlayStations and Madden and whatever. You're able to get what was those things called? Not the scooters, the hoverboards, whatever. The newest shit you still feel like you're a part of it. And the thing is, it's like I don't really have to strive for more, because this material shit is more important than the morals and values that I was getting back in the day. You know what I'm saying? You were just talking about Martin and Malcolm and stuff like that, man. But man, the thing is like that was a different time, man. Where again, another thing is this, and this is gonna sound crazy. It was no internet or no social media to judge those men. Like, one of my favorite quotes is this. I was like, man, you know why the internet's so bad? Why social media is so bad? If the internet if social media existed back in the 50s and 60s, Malcolm Little would have never became Malcolm X.
Yes, he would have.
No, he wouldn't have. No, he wouldn't have. Oh, no, he wouldn't have. The reason he would not have become Malcolm X, because too many people say, "Oh, ain't you the dude? I remember back when you used to sleep with white girls, used to rob people,
you know what
and
Malcolm
do this."
Would say?
No. What would Malcolm say?
He'd say the same thing that I would say. You know what I would say if somebody started bringing up that stuff? I say, you're right. And at one point in time in my life, I used to piss on myself. I couldn't wipe my butt. I didn't know 1 + 1. I didn't know how to read or write. Everybody grows. I'm not denying none of it. Yeah, I did it. You're absolutely right. I did it. Hey, I failed the 4th grade. Yep, did it twice, came back, passed 5th grade. I did it. I own up to it because that's what a leader do. But don't judge me based off my past, because we all got a process. Ain't nobody come in this world knowing nothing. We all pissed on ourselves. We all vomited on ourselves. We all sucked milk. We all cried. We all had dirty diapers. You feel me? We all didn't know how to read. We all got stuff that we did or didn't do coming up. That's just a part of human nature.
Yeah.
Malcolm X will own up to it, because he owned up to it back then to the people that did know. He acknowledged it. Yes, that was me. Yes, I did do it. And so what? I did it, paid my time, I transformed. So what? Move on. Everybody got skeletons in the closet. Everybody. There's not a person on this earth that don't got skeletons in their closet. Some just more well hidden than others. But if you're a real leader, don't be apologetic. If somebody went through my Twitter feed or my face, I don't delete nothing. Oh man, you said this in 2007. Yes, and in 2007 I also smoked weed. I also used to sag. you
Man,
know?
I really don't think Malcolm X would survive cancel culture. He would not have become Malcolm X in cancel culture, in my opinion. But I will also say this though: the latter end of Malcolm's life, he also was changing a lot of his viewpoints. He went away from being the radical pro black person. He started changing the tide because he started realizing what the bigger issues was, and he gonna spend his time with hating people because of ethnicities. He started realizing that
Right.
we actually do have brothers that are different colors. It's bigger than what's going on where I'm from. And what's crazy is the same thing with Martin. Martin was changing his position. He was becoming more of a radical socialist. And he was speaking against the Vietnam War and things like that. Like, he was actually challenging the government. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is I don't think the issues are the same that were back then. So do we really need a leader like that? I don't know. But the thing is the issues that we have now, what the real problem is, I actually think in some degree we actually do need some ambassadors or some people that don't look like us to some degree.
I mean, I'm willing to work with anybody. People think that when I say black knowledge or anything else that I'm just strictly black. No, that's my area. You know, it's like being a doctor. You're not gonna ask a heart surgeon why he just operates on hearts. That's what he chose to do. That doesn't mean that he doesn't care about the rest of the body. Just like an optometrist, you're not gonna ask, well, why do you only work on eyes or eyesight? That's the field I chose to go into. That doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about your overall health. That's just what I chose to put my focus on. I choose to put my focus on black people and black knowledge because that's what I care the most about. It doesn't mean I don't care about anybody else. It doesn't mean I hate people. It doesn't mean I won't work with other people, because I absolutely will. Because we need to work with people. When you're the minority, you're going to have some people that's not like you in some different places. That's just being honest. But another thing is, we do have a common enemy. It's just the enemy that's invisible to the eyesight, because the enemy we face now is not somebody that's in front of us. It's somebody that's inside of us, and it's right here. That's why we don't have a leader that can rise up, because it's hard to rise up against an enemy that you can't see when it's coming between people. That's like asking one doctor to cure common colds. You know, it's inside of us. We have to together, not just one leader, but leaders and people come together to fight the mentality that we have. And it will not be just one man, because we're not facing one enemy or one issue. Back then, racism was like the glaring issue. Equality. Right now, we're facing so many different faces and facets of negative culture and stereotypical serialization of us, stereotyping us. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah, stereotyping us and everything else that is hard. One person can't fight every battle. So you're right. We need more like a committee, ambassadors. We need different approaches. So hey, you go take care of that. We need like say United Nations, but. And I don't mean the NAACP. They ain't worth nothing either. But I'm just being real. They ain't worth nothing either.
I mean, we can't go in with this 60-year-old rhetoric. You know what I'm saying?
We still trying to fight the same enemy that they was fighting back then.
Exactly. Like
racism. Racism can be found in any situation where there's a difference in the color of the skin of two people, whether it be true racism or not. That is different. But if something happens between a black person and a white person, because the most noticeable difference is the color of their skin, it can be perceived as racism. So that's what they do. They try to find the racism in everything. I'm not saying it don't exist, but what I'm saying is that we got bigger fish to fry now.
We got way bigger fish to fry. And the thing is this, man, like at the end of the day, racism is just another form of division. Because the real powers that be, the real, like, that's just another way to keep us divided. They say, hey, look, he black, he white. you better than him because you ain't black. You know what I'm saying? And that's classism, racism. Like there's so many things that is really dividing us. So the thing is we can't. That's why I say the fight that we're talking about that was going on 60 years ago. We can't go with that. I feel like with that same agenda because it's different. And the thing is it's like right now, what are we really fighting for? What are we fighting for at this point?
Nothing. People will always find something to separate themselves. That's why I tell people when they say it's time to end racism, I said racism is just a form of discrimination which will never end. Because let's say we ended all racism right now, right? Then people will decide to separate themselves according to economic status, religious status. I'm taller than you. You're fatter than me. You know, people are I like pizza and you don't.
Shoot, I mean, what's funny is that even now the other division is men versus women.
Men versus women, right?
Men versus women. The thing is, man, you go into a strong man's house and you divide and you conquer him by division, and that's really how it works, man. That's we are house divided. And the thing is, though, at the end of the day, like, there's so many. What we need to strive for is there. We just have to go. We have one. Well, like you said, not only do we need to have knowledge of self.
Right.
Of our knowledge, but we also need to have knowledge of society. Like we need to, why aren't we learning finances? Why aren't we learning economics? Why aren't we learning these things that can actually make you things that can actually teach us to be empowered citizens? You know what I'm saying? Like or sovereign citizens, whatever you want to call it. My thing is this. Hell, I feel like honestly, even more so in what you was talking about, leaders and maybe have a committee. Which I don't feel like there needs to be one leader, because if you got one leader, you kill them, bam. Now what happens with the rest of the team? You cut the head off the snake. Right. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we should have a board. Maybe we should have a political power or whatever. But my thing is, more importantly, I feel like in our community, we need to learn how to stop. For one, we need to learn how to. I feel like we need to learn how to be self-employed and business owners. Honestly, I feel like we need to gain our independence, because as long as somebody feeds you, or you have to depend on someone to be fed, you're gonna do whatever they tell you. So, man, it's so many. And the thing is, and I think because a lot of us have philosophies of which way we supposed to go, we'll never. Not say we'll never. We're gonna have a tough time getting on the same page, because this guy say we need to go this way. This guy needs to say we go that way. That guy needs to say we go that way. Now you got too many chiefs and not enough indigenous people.
Right.
So and again, I told you, I think we need to learn how to. I feel like we need to learn how to employ ourselves and no longer be indentured servants. That's what I feel. But you might have a whole different philosophy. You know what I'm saying? Someone might say, no, we need to learn how to live off the fat of the land. We need to be herbalists and national. We need to grow our own food or whatever. Some people might say, no, we need to be capitalists. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna come in with these different theories and be all over the place. But my thing is where do we go from here?
Go from here, and it's gonna be my final thought before we wrap it up. But to go from here, we need a uniform just image. You used to be able to look in the mirror and you see a certain image of black people in Black America. But now they broke the mirror. So when you break the mirror, what happened? Even if you see the same reflection, it don't look the same, and it's shattered. That shattering of the mirror is all the different ways that we've been divided and broken up, to where overall you can still see the image of a black person in the mirror, but it's not that clean, crisp image. If I get dressed in the morning, I put on dress shoes, some dress socks, dress pants, and a dress shirt, a dress belt, and a tie, and a dress coat, I'm gonna look like I'm going for business. But if I put on one dress shoe, one athletic shoe, one sock, no sock, I put on a pair of jeans, but then I put on a wife beater on top of the wife beater, I put on an athletic jersey, and I got a glove on this hand. You understand what I'm saying? And I got a hat on. I got a trucker hat on. If I walk out the house, you're not gonna know where I'm going because I'm dressed for too many different things. I'm just gonna look foolish. Right now, we look foolish because we trying to dress our culture and our community too many different ways. We need to come up with one uniform look, one uniform idea of what represents us the best, and grab that. And right now, the image that we've grabbed hold of the most is the street image, the hood image, because that's what you see in music, that's what you see on TV, that's what you see all over the internet.
Right.
That's what resonates with our people the most. That's the image that we've held on to, and it's time for us to let that go. But aside from that, our time is up.
Is it up?
We gotta get it's been an hour, man. You got a last thought?
Yeah, I had a final thought.
Go ahead, give your final
Let me get
thought,
my
man.
final thought. You got yours, damn it, nigga. No, man, but honestly, I don't know where we need to go.
Cue the music.
That's what I don't know which way we need to go, but I do know where we don't need to go.
Right.
We need. I say as a people, we got to stop falling for the trap. We don't need to be going to prison. We got to stop killing each other. We got to stop feeding ourselves poison. We got to stop feeding that to our kids, and we have to start valuing ourselves and really, man, mental health, bro. Like my thing is if we avoid the things that's destroying us, I think we'll be okay. You know, and that's my thing. I think more important, let's just avoid the things that we know that's destroying us, and we got to stop glorifying that shit in our music. Even though I love our music, stop glorifying the destruction in our music, and I feel like we can go wherever we want to. But that's my final thought.
All right. Well, hey, once again, you're down here with BKO. That's Black Knowledge Outpost, kicking it at the V Lounge. So welcome to be a guest here.
Yeah.
And we'll be here more time in the future. Also, catch us down here on Thursday night.
Thursdays, yeah.
We got happy hour. We're going to have some throwback jams, business people. We networking. We down here
Right.
at the V Lounge every Thursday. Hey, make sure y'all come see us.
Yeah.
And we out.